You and Draymond and Clay now have 20 finals wins together, and that's the second most since 1970 when Kareem, Magic, and Michael Cooper, they have 22. Is that pretty remarkable to you when you think about that number, and just what does it say about what you three have done?
This series is no different, and one more win. Just got to figure out a way to get it done.
This is just pouring out. It might be his fourth, but it means so much. All the sacrifice, all the work. Boy, these Warriors are ready to celebrate. And that'll do it.
I can't imagine the amount of pressure that is on both the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics, especially in a legacy-defining game like Game 6 of the NBA Finals, where if Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are able to prevail, then they will get an opportunity at a Game 7 at Golden State. And obviously, if they lose, well, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Marcus Smart all miss out on their opportunity to win their first championship, and Ime Udoka misses out on an opportunity to become a first-time head coach that wins a championship. So we have a lot to get to, man. There's a lot of drama leading up to today's game and a lot of analysis we have to get to you guys post-game. So make sure you drop a like, subscribe, turn on our notifications, and if you want to get shorter versions of these videos, make sure you follow me on TikTok and Instagram. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, I was torn about whether or not this part deserved its own video, but I thought it was something that we needed to discuss, especially if you're a Boston Celtics fan. And yes, it does involve Isaiah Thomas. So earlier today, there's this one report that went out, and the report was that the Boston Celtics told Robert Williams that playing through an injury won't make his knee worse. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, it's been a huge storyline this entire playoff series. Robert Williams is sometimes available, sometimes isn't available. He's clearly playing through an injury, but there is no denying that whenever he is on the floor for the Boston Celtics, he is a gigantic difference maker. I mean, without a question. It's way more intimidating to get into the paint. You have to be more dependent on your three-point jumper, and if that's not falling, then you're out of luck when Robert Williams is on the floor. He's incredible at grabbing rebounds, whether it's offensive or defensive, and just all in all, stuff that he does can change the trajectory of any playoff series. And this is coming from a Laker fan. So far, I don't know what his knee injury is. All we know is it's a knee injury, and he's been playing and taking adrenaline during his games. Now, this article says that he takes adrenaline during games. The between game maintenance is burdensome, but during the NBA Finals, he has mostly declined to answer questions about his long-term outlook, aside from briefly acknowledging that last week he's taking a risk. So just how severe is this injury? So according to Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports, one of the rising stars in sports reporting, might I add, and a very credible individual, might I also add, Robert Williams said that I was really having my knee drained a lot last series, and I stopped draining it because there was no point, in my opinion. My knee kept filling back up with fluid, so I've kind of learned how to manage it to be able to play. The medical staff has ensured Robert Williams that he is not at further risk of worsening the repaired knee. It is all a matter of pain tolerance. So you might be wondering, okay, Mike, well, Robert Williams just played, so why is this a big deal? Well, if there's one individual that might feel some kind of way about the fact that the Boston Celtics were able to make it all the way to the NBA Finals and he's not on the team anymore, it's Isaiah Thomas. So Isaiah Thomas's tweet went viral. He quote tweeted this and he said, "I heard that before, LOL." And look, man, I'm gonna be honest, I feel bad about what happened with Isaiah Thomas. For those of you guys that don't know the story, it's a whole rabbit hole, but pretty much Isaiah Thomas, and this is the super short version of it, had a near MVP season in 2017, carried the Boston Celtics on his back for that entire playoff run, despite having a hip injury that he was playing through and his sister tragically passing away in a car crash. Following that playoff run, when they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, despite them being very close to advancing to the NBA Finals, the Boston Celtics opted to trade Isaiah Thomas Thomas to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Kyrie Irving, essentially. Obviously, there were other players involved, but this is like the short version of it. And my whole take on that situation is like the biggest mistake Isaiah Thomas ever made wasn't playing for the Boston Celtics, but it was coming back as soon as possible for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as opposed to just not playing for that whole year and then going into free agency. Once people saw that he wasn't the elite MVP caliber player anymore, he got a veteran minimum contract when he hit free agency following his stint with the Cavs and then getting traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. And in my opinion, that was his mistake. He should have just waited and not showed up and not played with the Cleveland Cavaliers that season, and that was that. But that's not what ended up happening. As a matter of fact, there was this one Boston Celtics fan that screenshotted an old report, an article where Isaiah Thomas said that he was fine by the situation, saying that they had multiple people come in and talk to me about what's more important, but I definitely wasn't trying to hear that at that point in time. Thomas said that he never doubted that Coach Brad Stevens and General Manager Danny Ainge were more concerned about his future than getting him back into the game. They care about my health, not just being a basketball player, but nobody's going to feel sorry for me. I just have to keep going and figure out what I've got to do to come back at the highest level. And then the article even continues to say that Boston Celtics point guard Isaiah Thomas wanted to keep playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, but team doctors and officials convinced him that he needed to shut down his season for his long-term health. And bear in mind, we still haven't talked about the NBA Finals yet. This is just during the day. A former player for the Boston Celtics that once meant a lot to the franchise just made him look bad. And the game didn't necessarily make things that much better. I mean, look, I'm a Laker fan. And Celtic fans, you could rank my analysis in the comments because I'm going to go easy on you guys. I'm going to tell you what's unfortunate about this series and what you guys could at least be happy about. What's unfortunate was this was a complete gut check for your entire team. Was Al Horford and Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart and Grant Williams and Robert Williams, will they be able to pull it together and perform out of their minds for a chance to go to Game 7 against the Golden State Warriors? Jayson Tatum didn't play like a superstar. As a matter of fact, Jayson Tatum didn't necessarily play like a primary option either. The worst part is this was going down at home. I'm not going to say the same thing for Jaylen Brown, but in a game where he could potentially see elimination, Jayson Tatum scored 13 points off of 6 of 18 shooting and had 5 turnovers at home. Jaylen Brown was remarkable. I'm going to give that man his props. He played like an absolute baller, but it seemed like it was just him out there. Al Horford did his thing too. 19 and 14 was absolutely phenomenal for Al Horford. Robert Williams definitely had his effect known, but the players that needed to step up the most didn't step up, and there was no one else that was able to step up in their place, and that's ultimately what lost him the game. What bothers me is, in the very beginning of this, you saw Jayson Tatum drawing all these parallels to Kobe Bryant, and then he went and played definitely one of his worst series in his entire career. Now, look, at the same time, I'm going to say that Jayson Tatum is still relatively young. This is a remarkable way to finish your 5th season. I mean, this young man hasn't even hit his prime yet. So I think at the very worst, just like I said after his rookie season when he lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think this is remarkable pain for him to endure that will be good for his development. I mean, this was a great opportunity. You're at home, you have your crowd behind you, you're playing at Boston Garden, one of the most intimidating places to play in NBA history. So the fact that you weren't able to pull it off was fairly disappointing. But I'll tell you this, Boston Celtic fans, you guys have a young core that you can build around moving forward. Your future is looking bright. Ime Udoka was clearly the better hire. If you recall, at the beginning of this year, we were talking about potentially trading Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown or splitting them up in general. And now it seems like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I do think the Boston Celtics could win a championship. If you remember, going into the NBA Finals, many people said that the Boston Celtics had a more difficult road to get here, and ultimately that's why people picked them to win this series. I don't know if it's the fact that the Golden State Warriors had more depth, more experience, or the Steph Curry narratives about him never winning a Finals MVP was what gave the Golden State Warriors the edge to win, but I definitely think the Warriors' experience played a heavy hand in their success here. If you're a Celtic fan, I understand. It really sucks to lose the NBA Finals. But think of it this way, there is a future. You could run it back next year. You're definitely in a better situation this year than you were last year. And you know the core that you have currently with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown is the right core for the future. The Golden State Warriors definitely deserve their own video, but of course, I'm gonna give them their flowers as well. I just felt like Celtic fans needed some therapy after what they went through today before I got to the Golden State Warriors. No, I don't stand him, I don't watch all of his games, but I respect the body of work this individual has put forward. I respect what he's done for the game, and I'm very happy that I was able to win number 4. I'm very happy for the players that had to overcome what they needed to overcome in order to win this championship. I mean, think of it this way, man. What were we saying about Andrew Wiggins? I mean, what were pundits saying about Andrew Wiggins when the Minnesota Timberwolves traded him for D'Angelo Russell? Think about the amount that man has grown in order to put himself in this situation. Think of all the young players on the Golden State Warriors roster. I'm going to make a completely different video on this, but I'm really happy for Steph Curry. I have Kevin Durant's Twitter notifications on right now because I think the biggest loser out of this entire NBA Finals has to be Kevin Durant. I mean, it's kind of got a sting to watch the only team that you've won 2 championships with win an NBA Finals without you. So these are just my quick thoughts. Obviously, I'm going to take a day and give you a more thorough analysis tomorrow, but let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.